Uh, Hello, friends. Yeah, this is on for a minute, so today I normally, record videos, but I told you all that I was gonna try and stream more, and then I never did, and I just want to make sure I kind of followed through on what I said, and I know it's near the end of January, but yeah, I have a little bit of time now, so figured I'd come in and say hi. I know most of the people who watch my channel, I think, are living later than Pacific time, so I'm fairly sure I'm not like not a lot of my regular viewers are on, but in any case, I did want to talk about a specific topic today, and actually wow, I'm very unprepared today, but let me briefly write down what I want to talk about so that I can kind of try to not babble on so much. Okay. Wow, I wrote a lot of things that here we are. Today, I wanted to talk about this is a topic that sort of comes up very frequently in my channel, and a lot of people want me to talk more about it. So I wanted to talk about feelings and how do we process them, and then how do we get out of them? How do we when it's a good feeling, how do we kind of incorporate it more into our life? So wanted to talk a little bit about that, but I don't want to blabber on and on without structure, so I'm gonna take one quick second to um, take a look at my inventory, so to speak, and then I will start talking. Okay. Number one, two. Okay, ready. All right. So we have. Let's properly start. Today I turned on the stream to talk to you about feelings, and a lot of people want to know more about how to process feelings, what to do with feelings, how to take care of good feelings, how to take care of bad feelings, and such. So, wanted to dedicate a little bit of time to doing that. And so, thoughts and feelings are closely interconnected, and depending on what coaching modality you use, some will argue that thoughts and feelings are so related. In fact, thoughts cascade into causing feelings. Other modalities will focus more on the feeling itself. It is sort of separate from the thought. And so it's the feelings of bodily experience. And now, depending on which modality of coaching you subscribe to, or because it's a tool, both of them can be kind of beneficial during different points, right? So whatever modality you're using at the moment, you will kind of pick and choose what to do with thoughts. So as a coach, I can do that. I can facilitate this conversation with the people who are undergoing emotions. But if you want to do it, I want to give you some tips if you want to do it alone. Now, the first premise that I want to start out with is that when you have a feeling, it's first of all a bodily experience, right? So you're gonna feel the feeling somewhere in your body. And sometimes your chest may beat, right? Like your heart is like pounding so much you can see your chest just kind of like pulsing. Sometimes it'll be this feeling. Sometimes you'll feel it in your eyes because they're like really drowsy. Sometimes you'll feel it up in your sinuses because you want to cry. So feelings are more or less physical things. But now, what's the biggest issue with feelings? Feelings tend to mean too much to the modern life. So when you have a feeling and it's a bad feeling, it doesn't necessarily have to stop you, right? But in the modern day, the negative feeling that you're experiencing means so much that you don't want to feel it anymore, so you go away from the bad feelings. And if it's a good feeling, you kind of obsess over it, especially these days with the usage of smartphones and everything like that. Getting access to things that make you feel good has never been easier. So feelings are kind of seen as this pill you take to get a super boost, or this thing that prevents you from doing things. But with this video, I don't know if you're gonna reach this level, but I want you to kind of consider this food for thought. They're just experiences in your body. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the invoked feeling is number one necessary or warrants any kind of realistic consequences. So for example, if I'm having a nightmare, right? And someone's trying to kill me. For no, not that example. A few days ago, I had a nightmare where my tibia snapped in half. And so I was like, holy crap, my bone broke in half. Of course, it's a dream, so it didn't hurt, but I could see my foot just kind of dangling, right? And now at that moment, my body panicked, like as if it was real life. But it's just something that I experienced. My body happened to experience. It doesn't really necessarily mean that it actually is a cause of concern, right? So with dreams, it's kind of easy to think about things this way. But now, um, what if you're trying to look for a new job and that new job search, you're gonna have to talk to a recruiter, and then now the recruiter gives you a call, right? And then you see the phone number that's foreign on your screen, and your heart is like pounding. Now, like that thought is again like it feels like it warrants some kind of urgent response, but at the same time, it's just something that goes into the body. Like the recruiter's not gonna kill you. Recruiter's not going to, dramatically alter your life because they have the hand of God or whatever, right? It may feel like it, but again, it's not indicative of reality. Like you give power to that feeling, you give power to the people who invoke that feeling. So that's the something I wanted to kind of start with. But anyway, I'm gonna give you four options, okay? Option number one is to feel it out. So I have this negative feeling, right? And it's been limiting me so much that like whenever I approach this feeling, it's like a closed door. And I just can't seem to open it, but the things that I want are on the other side of the door. Or you want some closure. Like suppose you had a really bad breakup. Suppose your pet passed away. Suppose your grandparents passed away or your parents passed away. Suppose you lost a friendship. So there's a lot of grief. And in the end of that grief, you want to like come to like a closure, right? So for these things, my recommended approach is to sit down and just focus on some part of the body that you can control, right? So you can intentionally focus on the fingertips, right? And while you're holding on to the feeling, you move your fingers so minutely that you feel the crease of your fingerprint. And so if you can do that while holding on to the feeling, like, yes, the feeling will feel really bad, but at the same time, you're connected to your body. And in that connection, you find that you can hold on to the feeling, and over time, it's gonna digest. It's just gonna dissipate. Really crude example, but I really think feelings are like erections. Without new stimulus, it doesn't get sustained. So you have the feeling that you don't want to have, but the distraction, kind of the minute distraction that I've introduced here, the feeling the fingerprint, it's gonna give you a kind of an escape into, like, you're still connected to your body and you're putting intention behind this, but you're you're together with the feeling. And because nothing is extra feeding it at the time, because you're focused on this, you kind of come to a digestion of that feeling. So that's something I recommend, especially for closure and grief. Number two, option number two is okay, so you have this feeling, right? And it's the option number two is really good if you're just so done with the thought and you just want to move on. You want to feel differently. You're ready to feel differently. In this case, you want to dissociate from the feeling. So, but isn't dissociation really bad? Shouldn't we all feel our feelings? Now, is there a good use for feeling your feelings? Yes, but at the same time, sometimes life doesn't really wait for you to feel things, right? And like I said, feelings get refreshed, right? So maybe you're at a point where you know where this thought comes from, you know where this thought is gonna go, and you're just done with it. So you have a trigger that causes these thoughts, and this trigger just kind of automatically activates all the feeling neurons. So what you're doing with the dissociation technique is you activate that neuron chain first, and then you use the technique to put a dent, to put a wedge, to put a roadblock onto that feeling, onto that trigger and the feeling. So I have three techniques in my YouTube channel, but since you're watching this anyway, I want to give it to you like right now. So everyone has an object that they can carry in one hand, like this. So you have this, and you pass it left, left, right, while picking a focal point and just watching over there, and you're just doing this. Common mistakes. You you want to keep your focus on one point and let your body move. Common mistake number two. You're not looking at it at all. So what you want is you want to look at one point, but you want to contain these in the field of view, so to speak. And then when you can do that, that's option number one. You do this for about 30 seconds because your body is moving, because you're using your left right motor skills. The brain's too busy to hold on to that thought. Number two, put your hand out like this and you gaze in front and you gently squeeze your hands. In the video that I have, I do it really fast, but when you do it fast, it kind of burns out your forearm. So you do it really gentle, right? Common mistake number one. So you want to keep it in the eye level. Common mistake number two, you can't see the hands. You want to see the hands. You want your field of vision to kind of have the stimulus so that your field of vision keeps on getting stimulated. And again, we're trying to overload the senses so that it short kind of puts a wedge into that feeling. And for this method, we're overloading also the language center of the brain. So, for example, suppose you get really anxious before interviews, right? So, you would do this while saying anxiety, 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 anxiety. Is it weird? Yeah, but that's kind of the point. So, you know how when you say a word, one word, so many repeated times, it starts feeling kind of like the word starts feeling weird? For me, that word is always ketchup. Ketchup sounds so weird when I say it multiple times. But anyway, um, you overload the language system by like the word anxiety kind of is a trigger itself, right? So you kind of turn that word into nonsense, gibberish. And that helps put the roadblock onto that, especially if the trigger itself is the name of the feeling. So squeeze method is also good for that. Number three is called EFT. It's emotional freedom technique. EFT is extensively found everywhere, so there's multiple versions of it. The one that I use is the quick rapid EFT. And so rapid EFT goes, it's like acupuncture, but for the energy points. So it doesn't matter if you don't believe in that crap, it doesn't matter. Um, because what you're physically doing with EFT is you're stimulating specific points of the body in sequence. And so when you do this, like the repeated touching and the moving of the points sort of make your brain trickle down the focus. And so the points that I use for my rapid EFT is the apex of the head, starting of the eyebrow, doesn't matter which side, end of the eye, bottom of the eye, right below the nose, right below the bottom lip, collarbone, wrap the wrist with your other hand, breathe in, breathe out twice as long. So that's one round of EFT. So one round of EFT, if it works, good. If it doesn't, normally when you try it 2 times, it tends to dissociate you from the feeling. Now, you successfully detached the trigger to the feeling, the undesired feeling. Now, ideally, you want to link this trigger to a desired feeling. But let's explore that method in option number three. Option number three is you feel this way for a reason. So, for example, my version of anxiety may be very different from your version of anxiety. My version of anxiety is centered around like hands shaking and the beating of the heart. Your anxiety may be this constricted feeling that you feel in your neck and your the shoulders, right? Another person's anxiety may be in the belly. They get like diarrhea, they get IBS and things like that, right? So people have different reactions to stuff. It may be called the same feeling, but they may be experienced in a different way. And now we consider those specific methods, those specific experiences of the feeling as a symbol. what does it mean? So, we follow the natural intelligence of our body. And we do that by associating into a feeling. So the option number 2 was disconnecting, right? Option number 2 was dissociation. Association is getting deep into a feeling. And so if you want to associate into a good feeling, let's discuss the good feeling first. Feelings are felt with your body. So when you can identify the feeling inside of your body, now we start asking some questions to it. Number 1, what does this feeling look like in the visual sense? We are trying to incorporate all 5 senses into identifying this feeling. So, what does this feeling look like visually? If you can identify the visual feeling, then you ask, what does this feeling sound like? Is it loud? Is it soft? Is it melodic? Things like that. Next, you try to feel it kinesthetically. What does this feeling like when you touch it? What does it what's the temperature of it? Is it like fabric? Is it metallic? You try and answer that kind of a question. And the other, you try to taste it, you try to smell it. So as you repeat this process, you are going to identify that feeling even more and more. And I have actually a test that can tell you what your preferred submodality is. So because all the 5 senses is what I call a submodality, and you may have a preferred one. So if you want to check it out, if you want to take the test, you can use the link that I just provided. I think I just left it. Hi, Karna. Can you talk about the emotional challenges with remote versus in-person work? Of course, I can talk about it, but I am interested in um, what you find emotionally challenging. And then I can talk to you more about that in detail. Okay, so now that we have identified this feeling, we can ask it, how do we intensify? So what happens if this feeling gets stronger? Does it become bigger? Does it become like a fierier? Does it become colder? Does it become softer? You ask that and you watch the quality of the feeling change with intensification. So that's how you kind of associate deeply into the desired feeling and maximize it. Now, weirdly, you can also do this for negative feelings. Now, when you have a negative feeling, suppose you want to feel like you're puking. Okay, now, like, suppose then you do actually puke, right? What if it becomes even worse? What if it becomes even worse? Then you want to keep throwing up. And then you want to keep throwing up until you're empty. Okay, so what happens after being empty? What else comes up? All my organs come up. Okay, then what? We keep following the intensification until it resolves into something. And when it resolves into something, that feeling is usually the destination feeling that you want. So for example, if I throw everything up, then I'll finally feel completely empty. Because I feel so bloated all the time. There's so much extra stuff in my body, and finally I'll be able to feel empty. And so now, because you follow the emotional intelligence, you know what you actually sought. So that's option number 3, following the intelligence by associating into it. Option number 4 is kind of the simplest way and at the same time the most difficult way, and it's the Buddhist way of dealing with it. feelings don't really mean anything. Mm. So this alludes to the what I said in the beginning. Yeah, so you feel bad, but the thing is, it doesn't really mean that things are bad. It's just the feeling that you happen to be feeling right now, and you don't assign it any more thought, and you just notice that you feel bad and move on. This comes with a lot of practice. This comes with a lot of theoretical knowledge about Buddhist philosophy and in practice with meditation. So if you are on that route, I want to give this option to you. So now you have four options of how to deal with feelings specifically. Good. Okay. So it looks like Karna is not around anymore. So let me just try to imagine some things and then I'll try my best to answer. So, emotional challenge with remote work is tends to be, in my observation around, well, uh, I feel so out of place. I don't feel connected with people. I feel like I'm cooped up at home and I don't really have the bond with anyone, and I feel like I'm missing out on the office experience. I feel like I'm missing out with like the networking and things like that. So, those are the emotional challenges with remote work. And now, what about in-person work? If you've been in in-person environment before, you'll just know like being around people, especially people that you're more or less forced to be with, is not all that pleasant, right? So that's the emotional challenge. I just don't want to be around these guys. I just don't want to be around this guy who types so loudly. I don't want to hear this guy talk about his weekend because I genuinely don't care. So those are kind of the emotional challenges. And to be honest, I think a lot of the work related emotional challenges have to do with humans. Because again, um, your work is more or less for money. It would be nice if you had cool coworkers. It would be nice if you had nice coworkers who were really like good at things, but that's not really guaranteed, right? Because that's not the purpose of work. The purpose of work is more or less to give you money in acceptance. I mean, in exchange for labor. And now, as a side effect of that, you have to work with all of these people. And now in remote, like again, there's a lot of FOMO, and at the same time, because things are usually communicated through texts and virtual meetings, it's difficult to catch the nuance of things. For example, if you have a sarcastic coworker, right? Um, that coworker may be like really funny in person, but when they type things out, they may seem super passive aggressive, right? And so these like human related emotional challenges are kind of what fuels the workplace. And now, in order, how do we get around this? How do we get around the emotional challenges of work? It's again to realize that number one, you're at work for the money. Um, it's nice if you can like get along with your coworkers, but it's not a requirement. So when you feel like this experience isn't going all that great in terms of interpersonal relationships, you kind of can start accepting that because it's a plus. You don't need to be friends with everybody, especially at the workplace. It's nice if you can, right? So, giving kind of lowering your expectations around the workplace, that's one very good way to kind of deal with that emotional challenge. And number two is you gotta if you want to really kind of expand your capacity for human interactions, you want to look at things as like a quest. So this challenge that I'm feeling right now is a quest for me to overcome. When I just start a new RPG game and I'm naked with like a leather armor, killing a slime is really hard, right? But when I kill two slimes, I level up. And that's exactly the challenge that I need in order to progress. So, if you can start considering your emotional challenges as a quest, and if you think of it as exactly what you need at this moment so you can progress to the next level, that's how you start expanding your capacity. But again, these things um, are kind of really sounds so general because we're not talking specifically about your case. Am I reading any book these days? I'm reading a book called Circe. I think that's the name. It's about a Greek mythology. I used to be a huge Greek mythology nerd, and I was at the airport in Hawaii, I think, and I was like, oh, I need a new book to read, and then I was like, oh, this book had a lot of good reviews, so I'm reading Circe. But in terms of books, though, this giant book here called The Little Life. That book is like 1,000 something pages, and that book, I'll be honest, that book really hit me hard. And since that book, I've been just kind of like feeling dead inside when it comes to reading. But I am reading Circe. The pronunciation's bugging me. Circe. Hi, Kaylee. My day was good. I have a little bit of a onset of a cold or like a sinus infection or something, so my nose and my throat is feeling a little funky, but it's okay. We all have some days like that, so it's nothing bad to worry about. How was your day, Kaylee? Um, yeah, and Bobo, my other book that I'm reading is called Data Engineering in Snowflake because I'm reading that for work, and yeah, those are the two books that I'm reading right now. Yep, and so those were the if you're joining right now, I did a whole spiel about how to think about feelings, how to process feelings, what to do with feelings, and if you're interested, you can check out the VOD because I'm gonna leave it on. And now that I, discussed everything that I want to do, I'm just planning to hang out with you guys until I turn off the stream. I I got this new game called Tekken 8, and I've been playing it. I've so this is gonna sound super old, but I actually played all the Tekkens. It's at 8 right now, but I started Tekken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and yeah, you would think that if I played it for so long, I'd be good at it, but man, like video games these days are really hard, and I don't know. I guess it's a little bit challenging, but I don't know. Should I turn this into a gaming stream? Yeah, but I'm wondering also, like, it's a lot of me talking right now, but I'm also wondering how your day was going too, because I think it's important for people to be heard, and so I want to make sure that I ask these questions to you, and I want to make sure that I listen to how your day was. Man, this person, um, YouTube recommended me one of your videos, and I really must say you post awesome stuff. Love it, and I want to see you on top. And then, like, yeah, a bunch of ad about strategies. But if you've been following me on my channel for a little while, you know that I intentionally don't do these things. Um, so I will have to reply. No, but thank you for the offer. Oh, and remind me of Dr. K. Yeah, Dr. K was actually one of my inspirations for doing this kind of work in the online world, and I have nothing for love, but love for him. Thanks for your time. So do a little catching up with the comments. Yeah. So this is the challenge that I'm trying to overcome. But I want to stream more, but I don't want to be like, okay, so I'm done with everything that I wanted to talk about, so I'm just gonna go off. Goodbye. Uh, I want to be able to just kind of stay on and then like talk with you guys. But at the same time, it's um because I'm not a gamer, because I'm not like like there's not a lot of ton of people, of course, because I don't stream out that all that often. There's not a lot of ton of people with like engaging things, so like a lot of the times it's just me kind of staring into space, and then nobody wants to watch that. So that's kind of the challenge that I'm trying to overcome with the some sort of a content plan. But yeah, so um, regardless of how things go, I'm gonna try my best to just stay here and keep talking, so that you find something a little bit entertaining at least. I don't know. Should I look at some Reddit stuff and try to talk about that? I can talk. Yeah, I could totally do that. Okay. Let's see. Hello to everyone joining. Okay. So let's look at some Reddit together, and then if you find something interesting that you want to talk about, then I can talk about a little bit more about that. Let's bring this chat, copy, and let's paste it here. Okay, good. All right, so let's look at the hot ones. Yeah, so I just talked about this too, but yeah, the feeling of I suck is not really indicative of you actually sucking. And if you can kind of get past this association of like, I know all option number four, I told you, feelings are just feelings, and then option number three, I say you feel it, you feel them for a reason. Please remember, none of the things that I say are like set in stone. So it's you use what you kind of personally want to use at the time. For me, um, because of the stage I am at in my life, I prescribe to option number four because I'm more of a practicing Buddhist. So I can recognize that feelings are just kind of feelings. So yeah, you I can think there are times where I feel like I suck too, but I just stop dwelling on it because I don't like it doesn't mean that I suck. Hey, hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I'll talk about anything. Thank you. Yeah, but this feels weird when I'm trying to squeeze it out, right? But at the same time, when I'm not trying to squeeze things out, like I'm gonna be looking at Reddit anyway, right? So when I try to approach it in a more kind of organic way, instead of trying to like keep educating you guys, I think that'll be more uh I think that'll be like better for everyone. Okay. By the way, I'm I need to go to work tomorrow, and because I work remotely, like Karna asks, but yeah, the boss is trying to. I have a new boss, and my boss is trying to get us more into the office, which I'm personally not a fan of, but sometimes gotta do what I gotta do, right? Uh, but it's okay. Like I have those moments where I don't want to do things. I don't want to work either. Rewinding my social fuck ups at night, making me miserable. Yeah, I bet that is very miserable. Okay. Okay. Hi, Rob. Join the gang of people here. Gang of three people. I was thinking about what's this. I tried to fill the what seemed interesting to me. Yeah, this question is really answered. Like this concern is really well addressed. I at least in my opinion by my recent video about like what a friend is, right? Um, yeah, other people are gonna do whatever they want to do. Like, of course, it would be nice if they reciprocated. Of course, it would be nice if everyone really liked me. But if you think about it, even Jesus wasn't universally liked, right? And even Buddha wasn't universally liked. So it's kind of unrealistic to kind of like think about people needing to like you. But of course, that's not what this post is about. But yeah, like other people, when you can really shift into a mindset of you can do anything to me, but I'm still your friend, like as if they were a childhood friend. I think that is the way that's one shift that can really do a lot of wonders. Hey Rob, so today I don't really have a topic of conversation. I don't know, maybe. Well, earlier before you joined, I talked a little bit. I talked at length about the how to process feelings, what to do with feelings. So if you're interested in that, you can check out the VOD later. And after that, we're just free talking about stuff. Do you also do some coaching work with clients about dating relationship stuff? Yeah, so in the world of coaching, there's a bunch of different types of life coaches. I happen to be what you call a general life coach. So historically I've worked with clients with like CPTSD because of childhood stuff. I worked with people about relationships. I worked with people about like they don't have a like purpose or like a plan in life, so all they do is like smoke weed all the time. I talked about that. Some people I do like career stuff, some people I work on building business, and some people I do like grief. So I'm truly just kind of like general life coach. But there are some people who have what's called a niche. So some people are like relationship coaches and then they just strictly focus on relationship. My friend Maria, who did an interview of me, she's a relationship coach. What made you want to become a life coach? So the I guess I never talked about this on YouTube, huh? That's so weird because I talk about it with other people all the time. So, um, my dad is he's a hypnotherapist in Korea, and he's kind of the first person who brought the whole concept of hypnosis to Korea. And he learned it from Canada and he learned it from America, and so I was more or less his guinea pig, right? When he was training to be a hypnotist. And my dad's actually a professor, so he has an academic background. So he's kind of the first person to not approach it from this like mystical way, but from an academic perspective. And so throughout my childhood, I always did hypnosis. Hypnosis and trances have always been a part of me, and past life regressions and like timeline therapy and a bunch of all these things. And so I looked at my dad. I watched my dad do his practice in Korea, right? And yeah, Rob. Sorry that you're feeling that way, man. Feeling stagnant, no drive. It's when you're feeling like that, most of the times it's because like you may have been really like punished for having drive, right? Because other people say the people authoritative people in your life say, oh, that's pointless, or like, why are you doing that? So that's sort of like tends to kill the drive for a lot of people. But anyway, going back to like watching my dad in his practice. So hypnosis is really good if you can get under trance. But thing is, not everybody has that ability to fall into trance because my dad is also like he's really well known as a hypnotist. Some people come in with the mindset of you're not going to hypnotize me. Some people really want to be hypnotized, but unfortunately, they just don't have that kind of sensitivity for the trance experience, right? Their brain keeps on interrupting the, trance experience. So watching my dad go through that, I'm like, wow, like this stuff is really good, but this is really, really limited because like suppose half the people are, gonna be good at hypnosis, so half the people aren't, then like this only works with half the people. And that was kind of the objection that I had for hypnotists and hypnosis in general. And then I just lived my life, right? I'm a computer science engineer, and all my life, like all my adult career life, has been centered around computer engineering. So I was just living my life, right? And then around this time, my sister became a life coach first, and I was trying to climb up the corporate ladder. I was trying to get promoted. I was trying to get a green card, and like I was wanting so many of these things in my life, but I wasn't getting them. So I felt really, really depressed, right? And I felt like horrible. So I wanted to, like, since my sister was like thriving as a life coach, I was like, okay, so, all right, Simone, what's my sister's name? Simone, like, I'm feeling really kind of not good these days. So what, from your coaching perspective, what would you do? And then she was like, you know what? Why don't you work with a coach? And then so she referred me to a coach, like two coaches, and I worked with both at the time, but I'm continuing to work with one person even to this day. And then I experienced the magic of coaching from the client side first, right? I was like, holy crap, this is like literally life changing for me. And then I was like, okay, so this is good. But then, I felt like I would get a lot of breakthroughs with the coach, but I wanted to kind of replicate that by myself. I wanted to do that for me. And then my sister coincidentally is like, "Hey, there's a certification program for life coaching, so you should become one." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I was like, "All right, I guess I don't plan to be a coach, but I guess I will do that purely for my knowledge sake." And then went to the certification program, realized that I had all these limiting beliefs about why not to be a coach, and then like there was literally no reason not to be a coach. And I was like, okay, guess I'll be a coach. And then I certified, and then went through a bunch of ups and downs, and here I am as a coach. Yeah, Rob, like almost like they don't accept it. Yeah, yeah. So that report is really important, but like it's always like double-sided, right? Because my dad is so well established. Um, some people, my dad's gonna do the like the quick induction, right? And then they just instantly go. That's so cool to watch. Um, but again, on the flip side of that, some people are like just resistant to it, and they're like, "Oh, you're not gonna do it. It's not gonna work on me." But you know what? Sometimes those people like they're so determined that it's not gonna work for them, but then they're like, um, my dad is a bit of a showman at heart, so he's really interested in these like Vegas shows, um, and so he wanted to kind of like pioneer that in Korea as well. But then Korean culture tends to be really conservative, and my dad is always looking to expand the horizon, right? He started out as an academic, but he always wants to like challenge established boundaries of stuff. But then, like my mom is like, "You're an academic," and blah blah blah. So like different ways of running the business, and so they made their compromises, and so that's where my dad is at right now. Yeah. And my practice turned out to be like a fairly unique one. So my sister is primarily focused on business coaching, and so she's running like a bunch of business programs, and I'm kind of a general life coach because I really enjoy helping people like not suffer, because I know firsthand what it's like to suffer, especially because I have a naturally very intense personality. So when I get pissed off, like I chew on it, right? I'm like, and then I like make it so much worse for myself. And yeah, when I get depressed, I get super depressed. When I'm happy, I get super happy. So like in all of this like kind of intense development of stuff, yeah, like I know what it's like firsthand to number one suffer, and that liberating feeling that comes from this doesn't apply to me anymore. I have no reason to suffer. And yeah, I make my clients cry a lot because of that reason. Give them a lot of liberating feeling, give them a lot of kind of like freedom from how they used to feel. So that's sort of the nature of my practice at this moment. Man, can't believe I still have my voice right now because as I was talking about the feeling stuff, I could feel my voice just kind of losing it. Mm, mm. Yeah, my dog fell awkwardly a few days ago, so he's been just kind of chilling. If you hear some sounds, that's him snoring. Francis, I'm 5 weeks behind in my homeschooling, and today has been pretty unproductive for me. I know it's gonna take a super long time to catch up, and it stresses me out. By the way, I'm pretty new to your channel, and I wanted to know what stood out to you about Buddhism compared to other religions. Hope that makes sense, and get well soon. Thank you, Francis. And now I will address your things in order. Number one. So, I'm. This all sounds really. It has the potential to sound really insensitive, right? But now, why I why I coach like this is because, Francis, when you have a reason to suffer, when you have a legitimate reason to suffer, there's no point in trying anything. Because what's the point? You're gonna feel bad, right? So for example, suppose this GoPro battery inherently makes my life miserable. There's a quality to this that makes my life absolutely horrible, right? So as long as that's real, there's no point in trying to make myself happy because this will continue to exist and plague my life. So, what I'm trying to propose to you is you don't need to catch up. That need to catch up is what is stressing you right now. So, if there is this actual need in your life that like if the universe police is gonna arrest you if you're like if you don't catch up and your life is guaranteed to be in shambles, then yes, it is a legitimate reason to suffer. But the thing is, Francis, knowledge is acquired in steps, right? And so you're behind right now, but that behind, like regardless of where you are in the like desired progress, you're gonna need to keep going. So suppose you're actually ahead, right? Does that mean you'll have to stop studying? No, there's always gonna be a next level, right? So you're like 5 weeks behind, but behind to an arbitrary schedule that doesn't necessarily mean something actually significant. So I want you to look at progress in the long term. When you look at it from the long term, what's more helpful? Stressing out about being behind and then never being like you never feeling like you're actually gonna catch up and then like feeling so bad about it that you don't progress, or just recognizing that, oh, it's a continuous path and like I'm not really behind in the truer sense of things. And that makes it so much easier to just continue walking, right? Because you're just gonna have to go anyway, and it's a progress. So I hope that's a little bit helpful. So what stood about Buddhism is because I was raised Catholic, right? So a lot of the beliefs that I have around religion is based on the like actual religion. That basically, what I mean by that is all the philosophy, this is my interpretation from my earlier days, all the philosophies of what makes ethics, what makes good or bad, it's all tied to heaven and hell. It's all tied to reincarnation. It's all tied to whether this like God will forgive me or not. But the thing is, I'm actually agnostic. I don't think about God because I don't think it's really significant whether or not I believe in him or her or them, right? Buddhism is a little bit different because Buddhism is a philosophy. And on top of that, you have the religious layer. So, for example, I teach a lot about Buddhist beliefs, right? So, how everything is inherently void, and how when you look into matter and you go deeper, it's composed of things bound in space. But that thing, when you magnify it even more, it's another thing suspended in space. And when that thing, you expand it a little more, it's another thing's in space. And there is no thing. So like all these Buddhist concepts are very philosophical and they're very practical. But on top of that, you have the Buddhism religion layer of like how there's like three layers of the world and like there's like nine levels of hell and there's like nine doors you have to go through after life and then reincarnate blah 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 blah. I don't care about that. So when I say Buddhism, I what I actually mean is Mahayana Buddhist philosophy. I'm not a religious person. Yeah, Kaylee, thanks for the appreciation. And Rob is offering a thought, looking for a religion belief to give him positive thoughts, but yeah. Yeah, so like Buddhist philosophy actually made me appreciate Christianism, like Christianity and Islam so much more deeper because all the religions are actually speaking in the same language, but it's just interfaced in different contexts. And Buddhist philosophy more or less opened my eyes to it. And before, I don't know if you know this about Korean communities, but Korean churches are really toxic. And so because I grew up as a Korean person and living in the United States, I had a lot of negative thoughts about Christians, and I had a lot of thoughts, especially about Korean Christians. But I kind of like through Buddhist philosophy, I realized that it's all the same, right? I seek enlightenment, I seek happiness, I seek detachment from my suffering through Buddhist philosophy. And those people are also doing the same thing through a different medium, through a different channel. So what makes me so much better than them that I judge them? Nothing, right? So Buddhist philosophy turned out to be like a very mentally healthy thing for me too. And now, for me though, I also practice Buddhism, right? Um, so I'm not just like a studier of knowledge. I actually wake up every morning at 6 a.m. I do my 108 bows. I do my daily meditation for at least 5 minutes. I regularly donate and I abide by the rules of like don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, and don't touch people without their consent and things like that. So I practice Buddhism because it really helps me integrate the knowledge that I get from studying Buddhist philosophy. So that's my kind of take on Buddhism. I am learning that I talk about so much of these things in my email list. I talk about so much of these things in my Instagram, but I'm realizing that I have really not spent a lot of time talking about these things on YouTube. So, and I thought I spent a lot of time on YouTube. So I guess life is kind of, yeah, like that, huh? Thank you. Okay, and my wife is on her way from home, and I must prepare dinner for her. So I must part ways with you today. But it was a great pleasure hanging out with you guys, and I hope to stream at least a little bit every day. I don't know if I am gonna have a consistent schedule yet, I hope to have one because this has been very fun for me. Thank you for supporting my work. And in case you are interested, but no pressure at all, uh, what's for dinner? I'm not sure, mate. My wife and I were both not feeling that good, so perhaps some sort of soup. I have a anti-procrastination book that you can get for free, but in exchange you will get emails from me. I also have a social anxiety book that you can get if you want, but you will get emails from me. I also have an Instagram account that you can follow if you want. All right. People, today's been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining and chatting with me because, to be honest, I was completely expecting just silence, but it's been very fun. Thanks. Goodbye.